here I am again. And I've decided to do a little practicing with my instrument, my secondary instrument, which is my Baroque violin. And what I mean by that is my mind-body self is my primary instrument. When I improve my awareness of how I'm using my mind and body as a coordinated whole, and then I add on my violin, the use of my violin, my playing, is guaranteed, 100% guaranteed to be improving. I may not notice it right away. I may make mistakes. I may play out of tune. I may have a rotten sound, but I know I'm improving if I'm improving myself. And that whatever comes out of that violin when I pick it up is going to be on the way to being even better than if I were not paying attention to my mind-body coordination. So today marks the beginning of another another sort of set of my own personal practicing. And the reason I'm starting today is because next week I'm going to be involved in rehearsals and a set of concerts with a group I play with in Cleveland, Ohio, called Apollo's Fire. It's the Cleveland Baroque Orchestra, and we play on original instruments from the Baroque period. I've been playing with them for a long time. I'm not sure exactly how much, but pretty much near the beginning of the inception of that group, which was 25 years ago, believe it or not. I used to be a very regular member. Now I only play a few times a year. But I'm playing with them next week. And I honestly, truly, have not practiced my Baroque violin since the last time I played for them, which was at Tangle. Was it Tanglewood? No, I've played with them since then. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it's been months. It was last spring that I last played with Apollo's Fire. And as most of you here know, I'm talking about my 30-day practice challenge Facebook group, where I'm going to be posting this right away from YouTube as soon as it's up. Most of you know that I've been doing a lot of practicing on the modern violin, and so I've set that aside now, and I'm going to pick up my Baroque violin and just do a little bit of playing. Just do whatever comes up. I have music that I need to learn for next week, but I'm not going to think about that tonight. Right now, I just want to get reacquainted with my violin. It's sitting, it's lying right down there in front of me on a little table, and I keep glancing down at it, and I see my friend there. My Baroque violin. And as I just notice it there, and I'm not rushing to pick it up, I'm noticing a change in my experience of myself. I'm noticing some changes in my body. I'm noticing a change in mood. I'm starting to get actually happier. In my last video I was talking about the election. And you may have picked up on my lack of happiness there. So practicing is the way up and out of that. And looking at my violin helps me come up and out of that. It's been a tough couple of days for many of us here in America. I'm sure there are people here watching that are happy about the elections, and we're all free. I'm happy you're happy. So I'm going to introduce you to my Baroque violin. It's a modern reproduction, actually, made by James Wimmer of Santa Barbara, California, in 1986, I believe. Just check, yep, 1986, James Wimmer. It's a violin that I love, really love this violin. My favorite part, actually, well, no, that's not true. I love all of it, but I really, 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 really love the back of the violin, which I think is just gorgeous. I love that piece of wood. It's one piece of wood. I'm sure it's maple. And depending on how the light hits it, you can see, well, can't really see on the video probably, but there are times when the light hits that and it just looks like flames. And I love the back of this. It's my sweet violin. I was very lucky in obtaining this violin from a friend of mine from Indiana University when I was there. Claudia, if you're watching this, I'm thinking of you, and I'm going to write to you very, very, very soon. Dropped something. So anyway, this is my Baroque violin, and this is my Baroque bow by Robert Schar, not sure how you say it. I got this many, many years ago as a student, and I was in Switzerland and bought the bow there. You might be wondering, if you don't know anything about Baroque violin, what the difference is. A lot of people do wonder what's the difference between the modern violin and the Baroque violin. There are quite a number of differences, but I'll just tell you about the main, most obvious differences. The Baroque bow is shaped in a concave way rather than convex, meaning the arch is more like this than dipped in the middle. And we hold the bow more up here rather than down at the frog. It's a little shorter often, but there are different lengths of bows depending on what country the bow was made in or modeled after. This is sort of an all-purpose bow. I use it for most repertoire. A French Baroque bow, though, would be much shorter. For instance, it might even come all the way to here. No, that's the main difference about the bow. The Baroque violin, the neck, you can't see so much on this particular instrument, but the neck is usually angled, comes out differently. On most Baroque violins, it comes out at a straighter angle rather than angled down like that. And many Baroque instruments have a higher belly than this particular one. We use gut strings, although I, like many other modern Baroque violinists, cheat, and I use these are obbligato strings actually on the D and the G, simply because the gut strings are really temperamental to changes in the weather and humidity, and they don't stay in tune as easily. Although I have to say, I'm really, really, really lucky with this violin because it does tend to stay in tune very well. So thank you for that, violin. What else is different? Well, the bridge is usually a little shorter, or lower rather. But the whole construction of the instrument is designed so there's less tension on the instrument, and you'll notice that the sound is really different because of that. It wasn't made to project in large concert halls because those didn't really exist yet. At the time that these instruments were designed, they were made to be played in small rooms, like in chamber music settings or in churches which were stone and marble, and the sound just went out easily without having to work to project a sound. Or marble, I guess I said marble and stone places, or palaces, for instance, where things were marble and projecting was not an issue. It wasn't until around the French Industrial Revolution, not the Industrial Revolution, I'm saying the French Revolution, where music became more popularized and more people could go to concerts. They built concert halls, and then the violin adapted in how it was constructed so that the sound could project more easily into a huge concert space. So that's a little bit of the story about this instrument. I fell in love with playing the Baroque violin when I was at Indiana University. I was studying with Joseph Gingold on modern violin, and then I discovered early music and studied with Stanley Ritchie on the Baroque violin there. So I was doing both modern and Baroque violin with two master teachers. I feel very, very fortunate that I had that opportunity. So, what am I going to do today? I'm just going to do very little. I think it's late and I'm a little tired, but I just wanted to sort of reacquaint myself with my friend here in preparation of my rehearsals and concerts next week. I did have one thing, an experiment that I wanted to try out that my friend Mio Morales suggested to me that I could try out, and it was intriguing. I was playing for him yesterday, and he said, why don't you try this? So it's great to have friends who are, wanting to help you experiment with things and give you good creative ideas. Hopefully I'm giving you a few through this video series. So it's, everybody needs somebody for some help. So he's my go-to person these days. And a very, very creative Alexander Technique teacher. So he suggested that I play the opening of this piece that I always have in my fingers. It's solo Bach Courant. Actually, no, sorry, it's a jig. And so I think it's from the second partita, D minor, jig. So I'm just going to play a little bit of that. First, I'm just going to play it without really thinking of much in particular. And then I'm going to play it again. Second time, I am going to play it really flat with no intention to have dynamics or phrasing or anything, just flat. See if I can do that, actually. I don't know if I can do that. But that was part of the game. So that's the second time. Third time, I'm going to really practice stopping, taking my time, using my freedom directions, which you who have followed my 30-day practice challenge, you probably know what I'm talking about. And I'll be asking Mio's 3 easy questions, all of that in the third time around. So first I'm just going to play, not mindlessly, but without too much concern for thinking. Oh, yes. The other way I cheat with the Baroque violin, which you will have noticed has no chin rest. Not supposed to have a chin rest. Those weren't invented yet. So it also doesn't have a shoulder rest. However, personally, I cheat, and I don't care what anybody thinks or what anybody says. For me, it's more important to pay attention to how I'm using my mind-body self, and I don't want to be doing a lot of this just because there's no chin rest and shoulder rest. So you see too many violinists getting stuck and tight up there, and then they look like this. I'm going to do another video sometime about setup for violins. It's coming soon. I know it's coming. It's in the works somewhere up here. So stay tuned for that in another video. But yeah, it's much more important to me that I actually fill in this area. So I like to have, it's not, I change it periodically depending on how I change. But basically this is a bit of styrofoam in here wrapped around by, I got a piece of cardboard in here so that the sound doesn't get too muffled, and then I wrapped it with a chamois piece of leather and very historic rug gripper with rubber bands. So I'm going to attach this now to my violin with a rubber band. Historic or not, it works, and I care more about that than being a purist as far as this is concerned. So here we go. You can see I sort of attached that on there with a rubber band, and it stays really nicely. So without any further ado, I'm just going to play. Oh, maybe tuning would be a good idea. Oh yeah, A is not at 440 on a Baroque violin, it's at A 415, which is a full half step lower. And all 4 strings are tuned a half step lower than what you're used to hearing. So might seem really weird to some of you out there with perfect pitch if you've never heard this before. It took me a long time to wrap my brain around seeing notes that then I would hear half a step lower than what I was expecting, because I did have perfect pitch. Do have perfect pitch, more or less. Now sometimes I'll sing an A in the middle of the day and I'm like, wait, was that a Baroque A or a modern A? So. time. Second part of the experiment is to play the same thing again. Flat, meaning devoid of expression, no attempt at phrasing, or rather, no, not devoid of expression, devoid of trying to express anything. It's very different. No dynamics, no phrasing, no trying to do anything with it. Really hard to play like that. Yuck. Okay, it's all an experiment. Part 3 of the experiment. Practice what I preach, which means I'm going to take my time. I have 3 magic phrases that help me with everything, which I teach to my students. They go like this. I am free. I don't have to do anything. I have time and space. You are free. You don't have to do anything. You have time and space. I have time as I bring up my instrument. And I don't have to bring up my instrument. I have space all around me, on all sides, up and below, to the sides. Space inside me and all around me. Now I'm asking Mio Morales' 3 easy questions. How easy is my neck? And what happens to me when I ask how easy is my neck? I notice an easing in my back. What happens to the easing in my back as I bring up my instrument? The easing in my back went away, and I renew my 3 easy questions. How easy is my neck? I notice that my breath is getting easier. What happens to the breath as I bring up my instrument? How easy is my neck? How easy is my neck? I'm noticing easing in my back. What happens to the easing in my back as I move? How easy is my neck? I notice easing in my back. What happens to the easing in my back as I start to play? It went away before my bow hit. I'm getting happy because I'm noticing so much, which means I'm getting more and more sensitive, which means I'm improving. I'm not trying to make the ease stay, I just want to notice what happens. How easy is my neck? How easy is my neck? Well, that was different. I can hear my friend asking me, what was different? First of all, it was a lot slower, wasn't it? It was a lot slower. I took time. I was much more aware of what I was doing. I was paying attention to what was happening to the ease within me. And I was noticing when I got distracted and stopped paying attention to that. All kinds of new ideas for phrasing